What's up, everybody? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night to talk to you about physical media, about Blu-rays and 4Ks, and the way we like to buy and own our physical media. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. So let's keep that conversation going about your movie collection and what I've got, here, and recommendations and all that, unboxings and all that junk. You can tell I love doing this intro part, right? So I am excited to talk about one thing, though, and that is, just checking the mic here, make sure I had it turned on for a change. That is January, February, and March releases I'm excited for. This is not by any means what I'm not going to talk about everything coming out. There's a lot of stuff coming. This year appears to be a good year for us, physical media-wise. And I'm not talking about any rumors. I'm just going to talk about a few things that are confirmed that are on my list. Some caveats. There are some things, a couple things, and I'm going to go ahead and mention them now that are not on my list, and I'll go ahead and mention them so we don't, get bogged down too much in the comments about it. I'm happy to talk about it further after I mention these because they might be hot takes. I don't think so, though. The first one that's coming out that's not on my list is Dune. That's coming out in a 4K and a Blu-ray. I did really like the movie, but there are two reasons I'm not picking that up when it comes out. Number one, first and foremost, is that there will be a sequel. And I'd rather wait and try to get this two-movie situation in a box set. And we're going to get that after the second movie comes out. So that's the main reason. But the other thing is, my understanding is, and tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but my understanding is the Dune physical media releases are not going to have the IMAX conversions. And that just frustrates me to no end because visually, these movies were made for that IMAX format. So we should have them. Warner Brothers can do it, and they can do it well. They did it with, they did it with, right here, the Nolan set. There's movies in this set that have the IMAX conversion, and it looks really, really good. So why would we not get that? My only hope is after the second movie, maybe we get some kind of premium release that has it. With the state of streaming and all that stuff now, I just don't know how it's going to go, but I hope that that's the case. The other one is Halloween Kills. I know that's coming out, but just to be blunt, I hated that movie. I hated it. I thought it was awful. I could go in depth about why it's awful, the horrible plotting, acting, everything, but I'm not going to bother. It's an old movie, came out months ago. Not for me. Not for me. If you were excited, I'm really glad. It looks like you're going to get a nice release. The Pirates of the Caribbean movies also starting to come out. Never were my jam. Never cared for them. So those also not on my list. But if you're into these movies I'm mentioning, January is going to be a big month for you. Okay, so let's get into what I'm picking up. Now, you're going to notice there's only one Blu-ray on my list. Everything else is 4K. If you're not on the 4K bandwagon yet, that's great. That's totally fine. Blu-ray is a really good format, and broken down, I still buy more Blu-rays than I do 4Ks. But the new stuff moving forward is coming in 4K, and if that's an option, that's the version I want to get almost every time. There could be exceptions, we'll see, but almost every time I'm going to choose the 4K. So let's get into the list. January, the first and only Blu-ray in my list is Spencer. This is a movie that defies my expectations. I should not care for this movie. The lead actress I don't like. I saw it in the theater and I was blown away. Spencer tells the story of Princess Diana's last weekend officially as princess, and it was a Christmas holiday, so it tells that story of kind of her mental breakdown and mental awakening to her situation, and her family. And it's not just a biopic, which would have really killed it for me. It's surreal. There's a lot of underlying sort of social and cultural commentary. Very, very well-made movie and beautifully acted by Kristen Stewart, an actress I don't care for. I can't wait to revisit this movie. And it still boggles my mind that I care, but I do. All right, also coming out is Akira in a new 4K edition. For me, Akira, it's a classic anime, is right there with Ghost in the Shell in level of importance to the sci-fi genre. Not just to anime, but to sci-fi in general. And Akira is a movie like Ghost in the Shell that has been, attempted in live action form It just hasn't actually come out, hasn't made it all the way through the production process. I know Leonardo DiCaprio was attached to it for a while. I think he's been attached to it so long he's aged out of the main character, honestly. Part of me hopes they never make it in a live action, because look what happened with Ghost in the Shell. All right, so here's something really exciting. The Toolbox Murders, the original 70s, I think it's 70s, maybe early 80s, I believe 70s. So it's a slasher classics, very grindhouse, very brutal movie coming out to 4K from Blue Underground. Blue Underground, I've bought all but 2 Blue Underground 4Ks since they've been releasing them. I didn't buy Maniac Cop 2 and 3 because I just don't care for those movies. All the others that they've put out, I have, and across the board, they are stunning 4Ks. They're demo-worthy presentations, some of the best in the industry. I think Blue Underground just doesn't get talked about because they're just reissuing their current library. They're not picking up new films. I feel that they think that they're going to be busy for years just updating their current library of licensed movies, and they're probably right. And so far they've been beautiful. I can't wait for this one. It's a classic. That's probably my most anticipated movie of that month. February, we're getting Star Trek, the original movies 1 through 6 on 4K. I believe it's 1 through 4, I think. Is that right? That's out 4K right now. We're going to get 1 through 6. Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, is probably second best in the franchise, right behind Wrath of Khan. Those are probably the 2 best Star Trek movies, period. And now we have them in a box set. Here's a hot take for you. Star Trek and Star Wars are probably, honestly, franchises that shouldn't be compared as much as they are. One of them is science fiction. One of them is fantasy. Laser swords and, the Force make Star Wars fantasy. It just does. But when you compare those 6 movies, if we must, there are more movies in the first 6 Star Trek movies that are good than there are in the first 6 Star Wars movies. I don't know, maybe that's a hot take. There's 4 good ones in the first Star Trek. There's 3 good ones in the first Star Wars. My opinion. Okay, so this is this is my most anticipated movie of February, and that is the Scream Factory 4K release of The Howling. This is a new scan done by Studio Canal that, Scream Factory will do as they've done with the Carpenter films, go in and do their color grading too. And except for one release, across the board, I've been very happy with their presentations. I don't like the color grading in the new 4K, Halloween 4K. I don't like it, not a bit. It's not accurate to the cinematic experience, but their other films are. So I'm hoping that this one will be the same. The Howling, came out around the same time as American Werewolf in London, and one of them is more cerebral, character-driven, slow-paced. That's American Werewolf in London, and the other one is more grindhousey and campy, and that's The Howling. I mean, I like them equally. They're both really good. The Howling is infinitely more watchable because it's shorter, faster-paced, more action-heavy. American Werewolf in London is something you got to sit for. It's a bigger deal. But both, really great movies. The Howling 4K, though, it's something that's been, should have been here a long time ago. Also in February is Almost Famous 4K. So that movie came out previously some months ago in a steelbook. And I love this Cameron Crowe movie. I only passed on it simply because it came out at a time when some other boutique things, limited things, were coming out that I really needed to get, and I knew that eventually this would get released in a standard release, and that's what's happening in February. We're getting a standard Almost Famous 4K. I hear that it's a nice transfer. As far as the movie goes, it's one of the best music movies ever made. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. Get Almost Famous 4K. I'm right there with you. And there's only really one title in March, and that is overall the entire first handful of months, it is my most anticipated title, and that is Dario Argento's Phenomena. That is being put out by 2 companies, actually. It appears the 4K is being struck by Arrow Video, and released in the UK. And Synapse is picking it up in the States. Now, Synapse is a great company. Don't get me wrong. I love what Synapse does. They do some really great restorations. But I have already these beautiful Dario Argento for limited edition 4Ks from Arrow Video, and I'm going to want to continue the series with them. So of the two companies, I'll choose to import Phenomena from the UK so I can get the Arrow Video release. And it's going to be a nicer release. It's going to have a nicer box and the whole thing. It just will. This movie stars Jennifer Connelly. It's got Donald Pleasance. It's to me a little bit of an underrated Argento classic. You know, when you hear about Argento, it's always Suspiria and sometimes Deep Red, Cat o' Nine Tails, all really great movies. I have them in my collection, but Phenomenon is really good too. Pick it up. So there's some movies also coming that I don't have dates for that are definitely worth mentioning. Army of Darkness coming from Scream Factory in a 4K. That's something also that's been way overdue. This movie has been out of circulation for way too long. We have Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2 in 4K. Now we need Army of Darkness. I'm very excited for that. I think Scream Factory will do a great job. We don't, again, no date. I'm hoping sooner rather than later. Then we've got a handful of Kino Lorber releases. A Fistful of Dollars, and for a few dollars more, that's two sort of Italian westerns, not sort of, definitely Italian westerns, with starring Clint Eastwood with amazing Ennio Morricone scores. These are the definitive westerns of that sort of Italian subgenre, and we're getting those in 4K. Hopefully they'll have the HDR in place and all that stuff too, because previously I think one of Eastwood's films was released without the HDR, and you know, they're shot at sepia at magic hour. You've got to have those beautiful yellows and oranges in there. And then the last one from Kino Lorber is David Cronenberg's Eastern Promises. This is a lesser known title, very violent gang movie. You got to see it. It's really good, and this will be the way. Kino Lorber's been doing a bang-up job with their 4Ks, and I can't wait to see it. So that's my picks for the first half of the year, first quarter of the year, actually. What did I miss? What are you excited for? Have you pre-ordered anything? Let's talk about it in the comments. Until next we meet, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with your friends and family, and remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV. I'll see you guys on the next one.